Welcome. This is a product overview of ComplianceForge's Security, Compliance, and Resilience program, which we call the SCRP. Over the next few minutes, we will walk through what it is, what problems it solves, exactly what is included, and how it compares to writing this documentation yourself. The SCRP is editable cybersecurity and privacy policies, control objectives, standards, metrics, and more. Its formatting enables CSV content imports by GRC tools with editable Microsoft Word and Excel documentation, or direct import into your GRC. It is based on the Secure Controls Framework, also known as the SCF, and maps to over 200 laws, regulations, and frameworks. And it comes with quarterly updates to keep you current on evolving cybersecurity and privacy requirements. If a regulator showed up today, could you pass an audit? With the documentation you have in hand right now, would it withstand external scrutiny? Or is it outdated, incomplete, or living in a few people's heads? For most security teams, the honest answer is uncomfortable. Building this documentation from scratch can take hundreds of hours of senior staff time, and the result still has to hold up under an assessor's scrutiny. The SCRP gives you a running start. It is a complete, editable governance program of policies, control objectives, standards, guidelines, controls, and metrics, built on the Secure Controls Framework, also known as the SCF, and mapped to over 200 laws, regulations, and frameworks. The templates get you roughly 80 to 90% of the way there, and from there, you tailor the details to your environment that only you and your team know. You can even import this documentation into your GRC tool and move toward audit readiness in far less time than writing it yourself. The SCRP is the next evolution of the Digital Security Program, or the DSP, which ComplianceForge first released in 2016. With the SCF publishing its Security, Compliance, and Resilience Management System, focused on helping companies be secure, compliant, and resilient, ComplianceForge evolved the DSP to support that new focus. The DSP is now the SCRP. So what exactly is the SCRP? It enables organizations to efficiently maintain evidence of secure, compliant, and resilient capabilities that are able to withstand external scrutiny. Because in cybersecurity, compliance matters. If it is not documented, then it does not exist. It is an enterprise-class solution for cybersecurity and data protection documentation, consisting of 34 domains that help any sized organization be secure, compliant, and resilient. And while it is designed for enterprise environments, the SCRP scales down to smaller organizations with complex cybersecurity and compliance requirements. Specifically, the SCRP contains editable policies, control objectives, standards, guidelines, controls from the SCF, and metrics. Nested within these 34 policies are the control objectives, standards, guidelines, metrics, and more that enable an organization to govern its cybersecurity and data privacy program. The SCRP was developed for growing organizations that want to avoid being locked into alignment with a single framework, or that have complex compliance requirements spanning multiple frameworks. This approach is a best-in-class hybrid framework structure that lets you align with multiple frameworks in an efficient and scalable manner. The SCRP is also our recommended solution if you are currently using, or plan to use, a governance, risk and compliance, or integrated risk management solution. Since it comes in both Microsoft Word and Excel formats, the import from Excel is straightforward, and you can then do your customization and collaboration directly from your GRC portal. And to help you get started, the guide shown here, Getting Started with the SCRP and the Secure Controls Framework, is available on the product page as a click-to-view example. The SCRP is a one-time purchase of editable Microsoft Office-based documentation templates. There is no software to install, no agent to deploy, no account to provision, and no cloud environment to configure. If your organization can open and edit Microsoft Word or Excel files, you can use the SCRP. It is delivered as fully editable Word and Excel files compatible with Word 2016 and newer, Microsoft 365, OpenOffice, LibreOffice, and Google Docs and Sheets. Documentation is delivered via email download link within 1 to 2 business days of purchase. There is no installer, no license server, and no activation step. A single entity license is included with purchase. There is no recurring subscription requirement, although an optional update subscription is available to stay current as frameworks evolve. This deployment model is intentional. Cybersecurity documentation benefits from being in the organization's own hands, inside your own version control and document management systems, rather than locked inside a vendor's SaaS tool. Once delivered, the SCRP belongs to you. Most organizations face one or more of 4 documentation challenges, and the SCRP was designed specifically to address them. The first is a lack of in-house security experience. Writing security documentation is a skill that many good cybersecurity professionals simply are not proficient at and avoid at all cost. Tasking your security analysts and engineers to write comprehensive documentation means actively taking them away from protecting and defending your network, which is not a wise use of their time. The second is compliance requirements. Nearly every organization, regardless of industry, is required to have formally documented security policies and standards, with requirements ranging from PCI DSS to HIPAA to NIST 800-171. The third is audit failures. Security documentation does not age gracefully like a fine wine, and outdated documentation leads to gaps that expose organizations to audit failures and system compromises. The SCRP standards provide mapping to leading security frameworks to show you exactly what is required to stay both secure and compliant. And the fourth is vendor requirements. It is very common for clients and partners to request evidence of a security program, and that includes policies and standards. The SCRP provides this evidence. The SCRP addresses each challenge with specific, measurable outcomes. The first is clear documentation. You receive comprehensive documentation to prove that your security program exists, saving hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars in staff and consultant expenses. The second is time savings. The SCRP is a semi-customized solution that requires minimal resources to fine-tune for your organization's specific needs. The third is alignment with leading practices. The SCRP is written to support over 200 laws, regulations, and industry frameworks, enabling organizations with complex, multi-framework compliance obligations to use one documentation set. And the fourth, it pairs with the CSOP for full coverage. The SCRP and its corresponding cybersecurity standardized operating procedures come together to provide premium GRC content that enables an organization to establish or refresh its GRC practices. As a visual, control frameworks with statutory, regulatory, and contractual obligations are directly linked to a hierarchy of policies, control objectives, standards, and guidelines, which the SCRP covers, while the companion CSOP covers the procedures. How is the SCRP different from the framework-specific CDPP products? Similar to the CDPPs, the SCRP provides alignment with the underlying cybersecurity standards that must be complied with, as stipulated by statutory, regulatory, and contractual requirements. However, the SCRP provides robust coverage for over 200 laws, regulations, and other cybersecurity and privacy frameworks. It is essentially a superset of ISO 27002, NIST CSF, NIST 800-171, NIST 853, and other frameworks for organizations that do not want to be locked into alignment with just one framework. So what do you actually receive? Here is a look at the content of the SCRP, the editable Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel documentation that is delivered to you. Purchase includes a single entity license, the first year of product updates, and the following content components organized across the 34 policies. The Microsoft Word version. A cover page and executive summary template, 34 domain sections with over 1,400 controls, supporting standards and guidelines for each policy, parameters and recommended defaults, footnoted authoritative references for statutory, regulatory, and contractual requirements, and a revision history and change management structure. The Microsoft Excel version, the full SCF control catalog with mappings, metrics aligned to NIST CSF categories, capability maturity model criteria, risk management model integration, recommended roles and responsibilities based on the NIST NICE Cybersecurity Workforce Framework, and direct import into GRC platforms. SCF integration content, assessment objectives for each control, an evidence request list of expected assessment artifacts, a mapped risk catalog with risk weighting, a mapped threat catalog aligned to SCF controls, the data privacy management principles, and the security, compliance, and resilience principles. And optionally, it pairs with the CSOP for full coverage. The SCRP covers policies, standards, and control objectives. For step-by-step procedures that have a one-to-one mapping to the SCRP's standards, the Companion Cybersecurity Standardized Operating Procedures (SCRP) version is sold separately and is frequently bundled. Purchase also includes the first year of quarterly product updates, email delivery within 1 to 2 business days, a single entity license for one legal entity, your company logo optionally embedded in the delivered files, a lifetime right to use the delivered version, and an optional annual subscription available after year 1. Now compare that against the 2 alternatives for obtaining quality cybersecurity documentation. For your internal staff to generate comparable documentation, it would take them an estimated 900 internal staff work hours, which equates to a cost of approximately $90,000 in staff-related expenses. That is about 12 to 24 months of development time where your staff would be diverted from other work. If you hire a consultant to generate this documentation, it would take them an estimated 800 consultant work hours, which equates to a cost of approximately $260,000. That is about 6 to 12 months of development time for a contractor to provide you with the deliverable. The SCRP is approximately 12% of the cost for your internal staff and approximately 4% of the cost for an external consultant to generate equivalent documentation. The SCRP itself is $10,400. Our customers choose the SCRP because they need a scalable and comprehensive solution. PDF examples of the policies and standards, and a summary of all SCF domains and sources covered within the SCRP are available on the product page, so you can see the quality and structure before you buy. So how much work is left for you? Here's the customization process at a glance. ComplianceForge aims for approximately a 90% solution because it is impossible to write a 100% cookie-cutter document that can be equally applied across every organization. ComplianceForge did the heavy lifting, and the remaining work is to fine-tune the policies and standards with the specific information that only your organization knows. In practice, customization is essentially filling in the blanks, adding your company name and logo, which ComplianceForge applies for you before delivery. Tailoring parameters, such as review cadences and access thresholds. Naming specific owner roles. And removing sections that do not apply to your organization. If you want a hand, ComplianceForge offers optional professional services. They are not required to customize ComplianceForge documentation. The 5-hour bundle may be beneficial for companies that need some guidance on getting started with how to tailor their documentation. The 10-hour bundle is for companies that need additional guidance on tailoring their documentation to meet their compliance requirements. And the 20-hour bundle is for companies that need robust services beyond just 10 hours to assist in tailoring their documentation. Purchased professional service hours expire 120 days or 4 months from the time of purchase if unused. Hours are intended to supplement, not replace, your own customization work, since only your organization knows the exact details to tailor your documentation. There are more reasons to buy. The first is a unified objective. Security plus compliance plus resilience equals the unified goal of your cybersecurity and data protection program. That focus comes directly from the SCF, Security, Compliance, and Resilience Management System, and it is the reason the DSP evolved into the SCRP. The SCRP's focus also benefits a CISO's ability to gain executive support. CISOs need to communicate in language that executives understand, including the real-world concept of negligence, which can be exposed during external scrutiny, such as class action lawsuits, regulator reviews, or insurer evaluations. When you look at these 4 options, which quadrant do you want to be in? Even more important, which quadrant can you prove you are in? Option 1. Not secure, resilient, or compliant. Organizations in this state lack both the technical safeguards and the documentation needed to demonstrate due care. This is the highest risk position from both a security and regulatory perspective. Option 2. Compliant, but not secure or resilient. Documentation exists and audits pass, but the underlying technical environment cannot withstand attack or disruption. Compliance becomes a paper exercise rather than a real assurance of safety. Option 3. Secure and resilient, but not compliant. Strong technical safeguards exist, but the organization cannot prove due diligence to regulators, customers, or insurers. Negligence exposure remains high despite the underlying defensive posture. And option 4, the target state. Secure, resilient, and compliant. The organization is technically defended, can recover from disruption, and has the documentation to prove reasonable practices. This is the position the SCRP is designed to help organizations achieve and demonstrate. The comprehensive nature of the SCRP enables a CISO to build secure, compliant, and resilient cybersecurity and data protection capabilities based on the organization's unique requirements. And it has 2 supporting goals: minimize the entity's attack surface and promote defensible evidence of reasonable practices. Another reason to buy is an official designation. ComplianceForge is an SCF licensed content provider. The SCRP's policies and standards are intricately aligned with the SCF's controls, offering a direct, one-to-one mapping. This alignment allows the SCRP to leverage key SCF components, incorporating maturity criteria, a comprehensive threat catalog, and a detailed risk catalog. These elements enable organizations to operationalize several of the SCF's notable capabilities: the security, compliance, and resilience principles, the data privacy management principles, the secure, compliant, and resilient capability maturity model, and the secure, compliant, and resilient risk management model. Framework coverage. Accelerating your business with over 200 framework mappings. As a visual, here is where the Secure Controls Framework sits on the spectrum of cybersecurity frameworks, providing robust coverage rather than specializing in one framework. Leveraging the SCF, the SCRP maps over 200 cybersecurity and data privacy laws, regulations, and frameworks. This includes the most common statutory, regulatory, and contractual requirements expected from a cybersecurity and data protection program. The SCRP provides the policies, control objectives, standards, guidelines, and metrics to operationalize the SCF for your organization. The SCRP contains 34 unique domains that cover a modern cybersecurity and data privacy program. Each domain is structured as a policy, supported by standards that provide the granular requirements needed to enforce the policy. The domains span security and privacy governance, asset management, business continuity and disaster recovery, capacity and performance planning, change management, cloud security, compliance, configuration management, continuous monitoring, and cryptographic protections, data classification and handling, embedded technology, endpoint security, human resources security, identification and authentication, incident response, information assurance, maintenance, mobile device management, network security, and physical and environmental security, privacy, project and resource management, risk management, secure engineering and architecture, security operations, security awareness and training, technology development and acquisition, third-party management, threat management, vulnerability and patch management, web security, artificial and autonomous technologies, and quantum security. And every one of these 34 domains is tailorable. The structure of the SCRP is scalable, making it easy to add or remove policy sections as your business needs change. Enterprise fit. The SCRP delivers hierarchical and scalable policies, standards, controls, and metrics for the modern company. The SCRP is used by medium and large organizations, including Fortune 500 companies, U.S. and international government agencies, universities, and other organizations with complex compliance requirements that need an efficient, scalable solution for their GRC needs. The SCRP is footnoted to provide authoritative references for the statutory, regulatory, and contractual requirements that need to be addressed. Just as Human Resources publishes an employee handbook to set expectations for staff, the SCRP does the same from a cybersecurity perspective. And the Cybersecurity Standardized Operating Procedures is available as a companion product, with a one-to-one mapping and a procedure for each standard. Strategic design. The SCRP can be thought of as a buffet of cybersecurity and privacy policies, standards, controls, and metrics. Once an organization determines which statutory, regulatory, and contractual obligations apply, it is straightforward to identify a customized control set specific to those obligations. Building cybersecurity and privacy requirements into the governance program is the essence of security by design and privacy by design. The obligations are understood before projects and initiatives commence, so that secure solutions can be designed, implemented, and maintained. The SCRP forms the cornerstone of an organization's security and privacy program. Security by design draws on leading practices from sources including the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, ISO, NIST, the U.S. government, ISOC, the Cloud Security Alliance, the Center for Internet Security, OWASP, PCI DSS, and the EU GDPR. And privacy by design draws on the generally accepted privacy principles, the Fair Information Practice Principles, OASIS, ISO, NIST, ISOC, the EU GDPR, and U.S. government requirements. Finally, the GRC Playbook. Understanding the requirements for both cybersecurity and privacy principles involves a simple process of distilling expectations. As this funnel shows, statutory, regulatory, and contractual obligations, along with industry-recognized practices, flow through the Secure Controls Framework and into the SCRP. ComplianceForge, in conjunction with the SCF, literally wrote the book on how to do GRC by establishing the Security, Compliance, and Resilience Management System, also known as the SCRMS, a principle-based approach to governance, risk, and compliance operations. This approach leverages the Deming cycle of plan, do, check, and act for continuous improvement. The approach looks at 4 spheres of influence to identify applicable controls. Statutory obligations. These are U.S. state, federal, and international laws. Regulatory obligations. These are requirements from regulatory bodies or governmental agencies. Contractual obligations. These are requirements that are stipulated in contracts and vendor agreements. And industry-recognized practices. These are requirements based on an organization's specific industry, where industry norms are established for what constitutes reasonable practices. There are 9 principles associated with the Security, Compliance, and Resilience Management System that are fully supported by the SCRP established context. Identify applicable controls. Define maturity expectations. Publish governance documentation. Assign stakeholder accountability. Prioritize capabilities according to risk. Maintain situational awareness. Manage risk. And evolve processes. The Security, Compliance, and Resilience Management System document, shown here, is a great starting place to understand how the SCRP can help your organization design, implement, and manage a security and privacy program that is both secure and compliant. It is well worth the time to make a pot of coffee and read through, and it is available on the product page as a click-to-view example. The SCRP addresses the why and what questions, since policies and standards form the foundation for your cybersecurity program. If you have any questions, please email support@complianceforge.com or call 1-307-241-8740. We've been helping organizations since 2005, and we are always happy to help.